What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. The transfer window is officially, we should have got a bell or something, Josh. Open. Ding, ding, ding. Boom. Noise effects. Yes, the transfer window is officially open. So I guess what's wild is everything that's been happening the last couple of weeks or so about transfers, frustration, outrage, slow-moving deals, Manchester United's transfer policy. It's only just begun. The chaos that is the summer transfer window is going to really heat up in the coming days, weeks, and months because, of course, we have 83 days. That's the official amount of time that we have. The transfer window is open as of this morning, technically midnight. It will stay open to 11 p.m. on September 1st. As I mentioned, there are now 83 days for clubs to do business as they prepare for the season ahead. So there's going to be a lot to talk about going forward. This is going to be your perfect place for Manchester United transfer news, the Transfer View, every day at 9 a.m., or in this case, 9:15 a.m. Nevertheless, we are going to be talking a lot about the big moves for Manchester United in this summer transfer window. Today, we're going to be talking about who else? Frankie de Jong. We've got, I think, a really positive development when it comes to a potential deal for the Barcelona midfielder. One of the biggest stumbling points talking about de Jong in recent weeks is, does he even want to come to Manchester United? If he doesn't want to come to United, why are we bothering? Well, it looks like he might actually be interested in coming to Manchester United. He's open to switching from Barca to United. Positive stuff. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Antony as well, which is a curious one, not because he's an Ajax player, and we've been linked with every Ajax player so far in this sort of prelude to the summer transfer window opening. So there's another development on that story. We're going to talk about Anthony Martial, his future, looking to be away from Manchester United, a possible summer exit. We'll speak on that. We did speak the other day about Alejandro Garnacho, a new deal for him because, of course, he's got 1 year left on his deal. Clubs such as Juventus sniffing around him for a free transfer at the end of his contract. We'll give you the latest on the developments of him signing a new deal with the club. I do want to touch on Darwin Núñez this morning as well. I kind of said my piece about it yesterday, and there's not really much more to say, I think, but I did want to talk about the reports, the rumours of this meeting, Ten Hag getting on a plane, flying to Portugal, talking to George Mendes, just getting everything. We're gonna hash it out. We're gonna have a meeting, and Darwin Núñez is gonna come to United. I want to touch on that because that story was, ridiculous. Let's be honest. It was crazy. And it wouldn't be a transfer view without talking about Andreas Pereira. I said the guy's got more lives than a cat, 9 of them, but maybe he's run out of those 9 lives because there might be a club interested in him. Let's see what you guys are saying in the live chat. As always, Altaf says big up from New Zealand. DJ talks. DJ's in the chat saying 83 days and counting. We need to get a clock. We need to get a countdown thing. Idea in the idea notepad. We can write that down. Toby says, getting my dose of United news before work. Owen, you've been holding up the fort well this week, so props to you. Appreciate that. Christopher says, good morning, Owen. Big up. As always, guys, be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. We already have over 400 people watching, so maybe we got our likes in early this morning, right? Maybe we take our shoes off, we settle down, we click the like button, relax, lean back in your chair or wherever you are on your commute, or if you just got in the office, whatever you're doing on this Friday morning, and let's talk some transfers. Okay, let's talk about Frankie de Jong first. I mentioned that we were going to talk about Frankie. I'm going to get my pronunciation right. By the end of the window, I'm going to get it right when it comes to Frankie de Jong. Now, this comes from Laurie Whitwell, of course, from The Athletic. Very reputable outlets. They're one of these outlets, again, domestic-based journalists, and they tend to be very, very, I don't know what the right word is, cautious, or they double-check things. They're very thorough when they report things, and so this story certainly does hold quite a lot of weight to it. And that is that Frankie de Jong has given a private indication on a move to Manchester United, and that it appeals him. However, pausing the move has been the fee, which is set around 80 million euros. Negotiations are underway. United are resistant to straightaway paying what Barcelona are demanding. This does continue. Now, Manchester United's focus, according to Laurie Whitwell, according to this report, has been Frankie de Jong so far. That's been their primary focus. That's been their priority in their transfer business so far. However, as I just mentioned, pausing this move, or certainly slowing it down, is this negotiation over the fee, which is around 80 million euros. But negotiations are underway. United, as I mentioned, are resistant to paying this fee immediately. They don't want to be, as the report puts it, Barcelona's bailout. They're aware, United are aware, everyone's aware of Barcelona's financial problems and Barca's need for cash now. Certainly by the end of the month, we've seen that figure, 500 million euros they need to make before the end of the month, or who knows what can happen? Who knows? I don't know if Barcelona's going to disappear or anything like that. But the point being that they're going to be in a lot of trouble if they don't raise that cash by the end of the month. And United are aware of that. Now, there's quite a few positives there. As I mentioned before, when it comes to transfers, I'm doing my best to be positive. I'm doing my best to be not super negative on things. I think that with the Frankie de Jong thing, only a few days ago, I was saying I felt quite cold on it. And my biggest issue with this deal, the biggest reason I felt like this would be a difficult deal to do, is the biggest stumbling block was, does the player even want to come to Manchester United? He obviously has his heart set on staying at Barcelona. Now, granted, it would appear that he's finally come to terms with, I'm not staying. Barcelona are going to sell me. I know, I'm aware that the club have these financial issues. I'm aware that whilst I love it here and it's been my dream to play for Barcelona, I'm going to have to be leaving. The stumbling block after that became, well, what about Champions League football? Manchester United can't offer him that. He wants to be playing in the Champions League. He wants to be a Champions League player next season. And of course, Manchester United, we're in the Europa League. And it's certainly not a sure thing that United are even going to be back in the Champions League come the end of next season. You know, I'm not wanting to be negative, but we've seen how quickly one season can lead to 2, can lead to 3, can lead to 4, and next thing you know, you're Arsenal, right? So we don't want to be turning into that. And again, Frankie de Jong's, aware of that as well. But the fact that he's now giving indications privately to those around him, whether that's his family, whether that's his friends, whether that's his agent, whether that's Manchester United, more importantly, of, okay, if I am going to leave Barcelona, if I am going to be moving on this summer, which apparently I am going to be, I've seen the writing on the wall. Maybe finally the club's spoken to him. Maybe finally Xavi's spoken to him. Maybe finally, I don't know, he's had that conversation of, you're going. Sorry, mate, we need to. If you love Barcelona, maybe that's how they've got him. If you love Barcelona, we know you love the club so much. It's your favorite club. It's your dream club. If you really love us that much, you'll do this for us. You'll leave. You'll accept the offer elsewhere because we really need the money. So the fact that he is privately given indication of this Manchester United move appeals to me. I would be interested. Yes, I would be upset. Yes, ideally, I wouldn't want to be leaving Barcelona, but I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to go. And again, I know some people will be saying, oh, do we really want to get a player that's, begrudgingly coming to us? Do we really want to get a player that was hesitant or resistant coming? Again, as I spoke about yesterday, we have to be aware of where we're at the moment, unfortunately. We have to be aware that in order to persuade top players or high-quality players, world-class players, we've got to convince. Because the days of Manchester United, just the name, the badge, the brand being enough to attract players, unfortunately, those days aren't around at the moment. Especially when we're not competing for trophies, we're not competing for titles, and we're not even in the Champions League. There has to be an element of convincing going on. Now, previously, we've kind of got round that by being, we're Manchester United, and also we'll give you a ton of money. And it's not to say Frankie de Jong won't get a ton of money when it comes to Manchester United. I'm very certain he'd be on good wages. But if Erik ten Hag can get this one over the line, that's a big win. And the fact that Frankie de Jong is now saying to people, yeah, I moved to United, I guess that would appeal to me. He thought he was able to seduce him. He thought he was able to convince, or he's convinced he was able to convince Frankie de Jong. It looks like he might have been able to do it, finally. So that would be a big win if that deal does happen. But when it comes to the price, and I know some people will now be rolling their eyes going, oh, here we go again, Manchester United, when it comes to transfers, this is what takes a lot of time. We're haggling over fees, we're haggling over money, we're haggling over transfer fees and prices. Why are we doing this? We need to get him in tomorrow. We need to get him in today. Why isn't he in yet? Why isn't he in? I'm sure when people saw the transfer window open this morning, they were going, what? We haven't signed 5 players. The window's open today. What are we doing? And as I mentioned yesterday, I do think we need to show a bit of patience, a bit of calm. I do think that this new regime, John Murtough, Ten Hag, Darren Fletcher, Richard Arnold, they will all be judged come the end of the window. But the window's open today. We can't judge them yet. You have to actually do something first and then judge it. It's like taking a test. You can't just walk in to an exam and go, you're failing. You failed. I haven't even taken the test yet. Well, it's not even been marked. Imagine that. So, again, we'll have to wait and see when it comes to that one. But if Frankie de Jong's our first signing, and again, when it comes to the fee, it would be stupid. How criticised would we be as Manchester United? How criticised would we be if we just went, yeah, Frankie, okay, yeah, 85 million up front, boom. Everyone would be saying, wait a minute, Barca need money. You could have got a lower fee. Why didn't you get a lower fee? Again, you can't win. You can never win in this situation. But if United can get it down to, hey, we'll give you 60 million euros up front, 20 million in add-ons, that's 80 million. But you would say, actually, we signed Frankie de Jong for like 60 million euros. In terms of pounds, that's what, like 55, 50? That ain't bad. That really is not bad. Considering the price he went to Barcelona for in the first place, you'd go, United have done good business there. And again, once that deal is done, then you can judge them. Then you can judge the merits on it. Then you can judge them, well done. Or actually, that was too expensive, or that took too long. As of right now, it's difficult to judge that. But as I mentioned, the fact that Frankie de Jong now is basically saying, I'd be willing to join United, that's a big sort of stumbling block that we've managed to get over the top of. And I think that's a positive. And again, I know that this will continue to rumble on. I, like you, when I see these things on social media, which is clearly the same report over again, United are talking to de Jong. United are negotiating with de Jong. You also have to be, aware of how the process works. A lot of the time, that's just agents, or that's just outlets. That's how it works. That's the transfer season, and it is sometimes tedious. Well, sometimes it is tedious, but what really matters is the end results. Now, when it comes to other midfield options as well, it must be said, because I've seen a lot of people talking about we need more than just one midfielder this summer, and I agree. I don't know if we will sign more than one midfielder. We know that Ten Hag's priority is the midfield, but continuing on this report from Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic, he has also said Manchester United have looked at Calvin Phillips, but the strong sense now is that he is not a genuine option for them. By all accounts, Phillips just doesn't want to cross that divide of going from Leeds United to Manchester United. Of course, Yorkshire boy doesn't want to burn that bridge, as it were. N'Golo Kante may be available, but there are concerns over his injury record. I'm not even going to get in to the Kante discussion again, because we've spoken about it so many times here on the channel. I've said that I'd be opposed to that move. It's not because Kante isn't a good player. It's because I don't think he's the profile of player we need to be looking for right now. I would question why he would be coming to United. Not that he's that kind of personality, but talking about a guy past 30, injury issues, last year of his contract, why does he want to come to Manchester United, frankly? And it could just be leverage in terms of getting this new deal at Chelsea. And I think he'll sign a new deal at Chelsea. Thomas Tuchel and a lot of people rate him there. So I don't even think it's really worth discussing that much. And people are talking about Jude Bellingham as well. The report says any approach for Jude Bellingham would be next summer. And that's kind of the whole talk about Jude Bellingham has been really non-existent for most clubs this summer, hasn't it? Because Dortmund just lost Haaland. The expectation is that Bellingham will be the one next summer. Dortmund tend to lose one big player per summer. That's kind of how it works. Last year it was Sancho. This year it's Haaland. Next year it'll be Bellingham. And make no mistake, if we want to get Jude Bellingham next summer, we need to be in the Champions League. And not only do we need to be in the Champions League, but we need to be, I don't want to say contending, but there needs to be a positive kind of atmosphere or perception, shall we say, of Manchester United. There has to be a positive perception of United of they are doing things the right way, or the coach is doing good stuff there. Erik Ten Hag is a good manager. Look how well they played this season, or look at some of the players they have. Look at some of the football they're playing. They actually could be competing in a couple of years, because if we are in the same position we are now, that next year, we ain't getting Jude Bellingham. No chance. We could have maybe afford him. He's going to cost over 100 million. 100% he's going to cost over 100 million. But any attempts at getting him are very, very dependent on what kind of year we have. Not even just season, year. Not in terms of on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. Keegan with a super chat says, how much patience should we have, Owen? Waiting for the end of the window is too late. We don't have another season to F up. Well, my response to that, Keegan, would be, is we don't really have a choice. What are we supposed to do? What does what does complaining or getting in hysteria about a lack of business when the day the window's open, where does that get us? Where does that get anywhere? As I mentioned, that's like it's taking the test principle. That was my analogy earlier. That's the way that I look at it. If you go, okay, I'm going to take an exam today, and as soon as you walk into the hall, they go, oh, you failed. What are you doing? You're rubbish. What have you done? You go, I haven't taken the test yet. At least let me do some answers first, and then you can tell me whether or not I've passed or not, or what my grade is. Like, you can't judge something before it's happened. That's my point. That's just life. That's how life works. You can't be judged on a crime before it's happened, can you? You have to commit it. So that's the same with the transfer window. We need to see what they're going to do, and at the end of it, that's how you judge it. You can't. How can you judge whether a season is a success or failure before you've played a single game? How can you judge a transfer window is a success or a failure before you've even bought a single player or sold a single player? I mean, there have been departures. We haven't actually sold anyone. They've been free transfers. They've been their contracts expiring. That's the way I perceive it. Some people might perceive it differently. It's all about opinions, of course. I'm reserving judgment. Granted, have they earned that fact? No. Have they earned the fact of, fans to trust them to do business? Have they earned the club this sort of patience? No. But what else can we do? Let's be honest. We have to wait and see. It's all well and good. I said seeing this hysteria or seeing this panic on social media, for instance, like the Darwin Núñez deal. But again, when I see 85 million up front, what are we doing? Oh, yeah, okay, well, our first player, we'll get a player that's going to be supplementing or assisting Cristiano Ronaldo this season, but we can't get other players. We spent it all on one player. We need to be smart. We need to be able to know when to walk away from deals as well and say, no, sorry, we're not interested in that. We can't be. There's got to be strategy. And I know some people are saying there's no strategy. There's no strategy. There can be strategy in walking away from deals as well and saying, no, that doesn't fit to what we're trying to do. But again, that's opinion. And everyone else I know has different opinions. Transfers are very, very subjective anyway. We've got over 700 people watching, so be sure to smash a like on the like button. Only 165 likes. What is it, Josh? Disgraceful. That's what it is. Let's talk about Antony from Ajax. Now, we were linked to Antony before. It was a few weeks ago, wasn't it? This is when we were being linked to every Ajax player. This is just as Ten Hag was coming over. Now, this was reported yesterday from outlets based in Brazil, saying that Ajax winger Antony's representatives are already in Europe to accelerate and perhaps close a possible deal between the player and Manchester United. A transfer fee could be up to £52 million, with his future potentially being decided in the coming days. Now, interestingly, I'd like to know your opinion on this one. Let me know in the chat. 52 million for Antony, would you take that? Is that what we realistically need this summer? Antony, first of all, I find it funny that his representatives are already in Europe. He's based in Europe anyway. He's Ajax player. He's based in Holland, so why wouldn't they be in Europe? My concern would be on this deal is, do we need another winger? I don't think so. I think priority, again, go back to strategic planning. I think priority positions this summer, and the poll is up in the chat now, by the way, as well. I think priority positions this summer are, of course, midfielder, possibly two. I think, again, centre-back as well. I think that we do need another striker, a 9, again, to support Ronaldo and eventually succeed him. And I think we also need a fullback. Those are the 5 players that I hope United sign. We've got quite a few wingers at the club. I don't think that's a priority position. And again, if we signed Antony, it's not to say I think it would be a bad signing or he's a bad player. Obviously, Ten Hag rates him. But my point would be, there would still be maybe bigger deficiencies in the squad. There would still be bigger issues in the squad that definitely need to be resolved this summer, or that we need to go a ways toward fixing this summer, in my opinion. And that would be a deal that if we had some money left, and again, it's a lot of money, if that would be a deal that if we had money left at the end of the window and there's a bit left over, and when it comes to player sales, maybe we've raised a bit of cash, you could go, okay, maybe let's sign Antony. But I don't think right now that's necessarily a priority position for us. Super chat from Ivan says, not so much panic as it is realization that the longer transfer sagas go on, the further from the top 4 next season gets. Urgency absolutely matters. That is a good point, Ivan. And again, I appreciate the contribution. As I mentioned yesterday with the Darwin Núñez situation, it's not to say that doing your business early isn't a good thing. When I'm talking about the Darwin Núñez and I'm talking about not panicking, that's not to say that United shouldn't get business done early. Every club should want to do their business as soon as possible because it benefits the club, it benefits the manager, it benefits the pre-season. Having or starting your pre-season tour or the first day of pre-season training, having all of your business done and concluded, that is the dream. And every manager wants that. I mean, every manager, United manager, has complained about that in the past, whether it was Mourinho or Van Gaal or whoever goes, when I start pre-season, I want everyone to be there. And once they're there, we can, train and plan and get these tactics drilled into the players of how we want to play going forward. And that is, the dream scenario. But ultimately, again, we have to be realistic in that isn't always the case. It's just not. Sometimes deals take a bit longer. This Frankie de Jong deal, as I mentioned, he was still on international duty this week. He hasn't even gone on holiday yet. There has to be an expectation of it's going to take a little bit of time. We might not like it, but certain deals just take a bit of time. And again, I do think it stems from seeing maybe other clubs talking to players, or maybe seeing other clubs, like in Spurs' case, they've signed a couple of free transfers, and we panic, why aren't we doing that? But each deal is different. And as I mentioned, myself, and it's not just because I'm doing it, doesn't mean you have to, of course, but myself, once that window closes on the 1st of September at 11 p.m., that's when I'll look at the business United have done and say, well, it was good or bad. And we'll know probably before then, let's be honest. But that's the way I look at it. I'm trying not to panic or judge United's business when the transfer window's open today. Super chat from DJ as well. Big up DJ says, we need a first choice natural right winger. I'd buy him only after the midfield positions and centre-back positions have been sorted. Which is, I agree, DJ, is what I was essentially saying there. I'm not saying that Antony wouldn't be a good signing for us. I do think he would be a good signing. My concern is, what would the priority of those deals be? If you're talking about De Jong, if you're talking about, say, Timber or whoever that centre-back is going to be, you're talking about maybe a striker in there as well and possibly a full-back. The winger would maybe be a fifth or sixth player for me this summer. In terms of the poll, I only went up a few minutes ago, but we've nearly had 150 votes. 83% saying they would pay 52 million for Antony. Interesting. Let's talk about Anthony Martial. Speaking of players coming into the club, another player possibly departing the club is Anthony Martial. Now, this comes from Graham Bailey, who says that Manchester United and Anthony Martial have accepted a permanent exit from Old Trafford would be best for everyone involved. Now, that shouldn't come as much of a surprise. I have seen some discussion, shall we say, in the last couple of days. And again, it kind of does relate to the general consensus of, are we not going to be doing business this summer, or are we not going to be signing players this summer, or are we going to be slow on deals this summer, that there is a player like Anthony Martial, which most people assume it was even reported, has 1 foot out the club, or most people were saying, hey, he doesn't really have a role to play at United anymore, or he doesn't want to be at United. That's a good way of putting it. He doesn't want to be at United anymore. But he could be, say, starting for Manchester United on the first game of next season because we don't do the signings. I think Martial clearly made his mind up about his Man United future a long time ago. And I think maybe he has a couple of times. It had been reported, hadn't it, in the past, that I think Mourinho wanted to sell him. And essentially what Mourinho was told was, Joel Glazer really likes the player. And we've heard that several times. Joel Glazer's a big fan of Anthony Martial. In the past, there was a concern of, if he were to go elsewhere, if he were to go to another club, he would do really well there, and United would look embarrassed. And it'd be a situation a bit like, say, I don't know, De Bruyne or Salah, when they were at Chelsea and they left, and then they eventually come back to the Premier League and they're world-class players, some of the best players in the world, and people would point and go, see, Chelsea, you got it wrong on these players. Oh, imagine what you could have had. And that would have been the same with Anthony Martial. But as mentioned before, like he went to Sevilla in January, I think there was almost a bit of expectation of, here we go. We're going to finally see Anthony Martial. We're going to see him in a different environment, in a different club, and we're going to see truly what this player is capable of. And it was exactly the same. It was exactly the same. I remember after his first game for Sevilla, Lopetegui was absolutely rinsing him in the press. He needs to work harder. Even if he plays like that, he's not going to be playing that often. And he got injuries. He was injured a couple of times, and I think it was the president of Sevilla said, look, it was a loan, but we spent a lot of money on him. And at the time, Sevilla were competing. There was discussions of, could they even compete for the title this season, right? I think they were second or something at the time. And it's not to say that Martial's move or his loan move completely derailed their season, because that's not fair at all. But the point being that this was meant to be a big fish coming to a smaller pond, and it didn't work out. And it's not to say that it wouldn't work out if he came back to United, but I think it's now time, isn't it? Just time and place. It's just, he wants out of the club. United have resigned themselves to going, maybe it's just not going to work out. This guy's got Ballon d'Or clause in his transfer fee from Monaco. I don't think that's ever going to get activated. And to be fair, if it does, clip this, because what a turnaround that would be. Whatever coach is able to do that, fair play to them and fair play to Martial. But at this point, I think it's pretty obvious the player doesn't want to come back to United, doesn't want to be at United, unless Ten Hag has had discussions with him that say that he's going to be a priority. But even so, you wouldn't blame him if his reaction was, I've heard that before, and I just don't want to be here anymore. And if that's the case, I mentioned we need to be signing players this summer. We need to be signing multiple players. Anthony Martial can still generate a fee. He can absolutely generate a fee. The problem is his wages. It was a problem in January. Who is going to be willing to pay his wages? Not a lot of clubs are. That was the issue with the Sevilla loan. But out of interest and curiosity, guys, I mean, how much would you say Martial is worth right now? If Manchester United were to sell him this summer, let me know in the chat. How much do you think United should accept? For me, that's a tough one. Because I still want to get a good fee. I still would want to get a good fee for Anthony Martial. I'm saying at least 45, 50, maybe. Would clubs be willing to pay that? Probably not. That's tough. Keegan saying 25 mil. Gray saying 20. Steffi saying 45. Alimu saying 30 to 35, 40 to 45. Emmanuel saying 25. Getting here, my damn United saying 15 for Martial. Let's just get it sorted. Essentially, just get him out of the club. So it's difficult. That might be the stumbling block with Anthony Martial ultimately this summer, right? Is where do we get our value for money if we were to sell him? A couple other things I do want to talk about briefly before we do wrap things up. As I mentioned, be sure to smash a like on the like button. We did speak briefly about Alejandro Garnacho the other day. His contract is expiring, and Juventus was sniffing around him. Of course, he had somewhat of a breakout season last season, made his Manchester United first-team debut, of course, scored the two goals in the FA Youth Cup final as well. He's had his mentorship with Cristiano Ronaldo as well. He's been training with Messi at international level too. Obviously, a lot of hype, a lot of discussion, a lot of promise surrounding the player. But the concern is he's out of contract in a year's time. Are we going to lose him like we have done with other players in the past? Well, Rich Fay, which of course is from the Manchester Evening News, has said that Alejandro Garnacho is set to receive a new deal, which will reflect his growing stature at the club. Talks are going well over a new contract. In addition to that, sources or outlets from Italy are saying that Garnacho's agent has said, quote, it will not be easy to take Garnacho off Manchester United, even if there are interests from Italian clubs. So it would appear that Manchester United are actually being proactive when it comes to this Garnacho deal. It would appear that Manchester United are very keen to, of course, keep the player. And it would appear, I guess more importantly, that he is going to be part of this Manchester United squad going forward this season. There had been some discussion of, is he going to be loaned out? Is he going to be getting first-team football elsewhere? Is he going to be, is he going to sign a deal and then go abroad? What's the situation going to be? It would appear that we're going to see more Alejandro Garnacho appearances this season. My one concern about that is, and I did notice it quite a bit in the FA Youth Cup final, and you did notice it when he did come on for that game, I think it was against Chelsea, that probably to really compete in the Premier League, you would say probably needs to fill out a little bit more, but he's still incredibly young. You said the same about Cristiano Ronaldo, and that's not to say that Garnacho is going to reach the heights of Ronaldo, because talk about a death sentence. That's unbelievable hype to put on a young player. But that physicality of the Premier League is brutal, especially someone that plays out left. And again, we were talking about Antony as well earlier, right? That similar kind of thing. We've got wingers at the club coming up. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't sign Antony because we've got Garnacho, but that's a position that Manchester United do have an abundance of talent in as well. So good news that Manchester United look to be working on a contract for Garnacho, and he's going to be at Manchester United this season too. Briefly, let's talk about Darwin Núñez. Again, I don't want to repeat this too much because we spoke about Darwin Núñez ad nauseum yesterday. It would appear that he's close to this move to Liverpool. It doesn't look like United are going to be getting him, which again is a bit of a blow considering that Ten Hag clearly did want the player. I'm not going to say that he didn't want a player. I was interested. I liked Darwin Núñez. I do think that we need a number 9. I think that United are looking at alternatives. I think that his price was just too much for United. And I think probably that's why United were talking to him and his agents for so long going, can we do something about this fee? Because we just can't blow it all on one player. But Liverpool can, because they only really need to sign one player this summer. That'll be their summer business, and clearly Klopp rates the player as well. But there were discussions yesterday that Ten Hag was flying out to Portugal to speak to George Mendes. Again, Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic is saying that Manchester United had initial discussions on Darwin Núñez several weeks ago, but they have other priorities at that type of fee. Again, as I mentioned before, the fee is the key point there. We've got to be smart about our players that we're buying this summer. We need to be smart when it comes to the budget in terms of the quantity and quality of players that we need. Suggestions that Erik Ten Hag boarded a flight to talk to George Mendes, one of the agents involved in Núñez's transfer, were spurious, basically saying it didn't happen. And it was one of those, again, this is what's wild about the transfer window, isn't it? It was one of those ones where on Twitter you're seeing all of these like aeroplane tickets or flight schedules or flight paths of going, Ten Hag's on this flight. Look at this flight from here to here. Ten Hag's going to be in Portugal. He's going to swoop in and, I don't know, talk to George Mendes and pick up Darwin Núñez in his arms and fly back. And they're going to, in first class, it's going to be great. They're going to be toasting champagne going, welcome to Manchester. Come on. You know, let's be serious here. It looks very likely that Núñez is going to be going to Liverpool. And again, I understand that can foster some of this. What are we doing? Why didn't we get the player? But for that kind of fee, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, it must be said. Finally, I mentioned that we were going to talk about Andreas Pereira, so we will briefly. It's just wild, isn't it, with Pereira? Because this is a guy that he goes on loan to Brazil. And the assumption was, and it was reported in January that a permanent transfer was agreed, and then I think it was it Flamengo were like, no, actually we don't want to buy the player permanently or whatever. Then you get the reports of United went on a scouting mission to Brazil, but they came back saying the best player on the pitch was Pereira. Maybe he needs to come back. You get other reports saying Ten Hag actually likes Pereira and thinks he can offer a backup to some of the players in the squad. And you're going, here we go again. Preseason Pirlo's back. He's got more lives than a cat. It's unbelievable. What's going on? He's going to stay yet again. Well, it's been reported by Rob Dawson from ESPN that Fenerbahce have shown their interest in Andreas Pereira. That's not to say that they will sign him, but I think at this point, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he stays at United. I wouldn't, because this guy, it's just inevitable. He'll play in preseason, he'll play well, and we'll go, oh, here we go again. So who knows? Who knows with Andreas Pereira? Seriously, just in preseason, the guy will become the best, the best midfielder in the world. Let's take another look at the votes in the poll, rather, in the chat before we wrap things up. Saying, would you pay 52 million for Antony? 75% says yes. Only 25% say no. Interesting. But as I mentioned, guys, be sure to smash a like on the like button. We're over 600 people watching. Only 240 likes.
Disgraceful.
I heard a whispered disgrace there. I was like, there's no way they're going to pick that up. It was like, disgrace. It was quite scary, actually, because it was a whispered disgrace and then a loud one. It was, that's like Stranger Things stuff. I'm hearing voices at this point. Oh, Josh is Vecna. Oh, one of your other multiple personalities. But yes, be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As I mentioned, now that the transfer window is officially open, United View is the place to be. We'll have all of the Manchester United transfer news, rumours, discussions, all that kind of stuff covered here. Super Chat from Tabarez says, is Andreas Pereira taking Phelan spots at United View? I mean, I could ask Josh. I mean, again, Phelan is a different person. These are completely different people. I mean, if anything... Yeah, what would Mike say?
Pereira is the ultimate cone boy, yeah? When he's going on loan, when he's going to these other clubs, he's putting out cones there. He's getting cone experience and then coming back. Yeah, that's what it is.
There you go. So you have the answer. You have the answer there. This is a new sort of aspect of United View as well. We have the direct line into Mike too. So it's the Mike. Brilliant. It makes total sense. Anyway, guys, we'll wrap it up there. We're out of here. Hope you have a good Friday. Peace.